All right, so the next stage is the configure part. So it says here in in case you just jumped in on this video, under the Getting Started tab on the right where it says Configure Settings, it's the third part. It's going to walk you through what you need to do to actually get the thing ready. So it says here in the public folder, rename the config.sample.php to config.php, which that should be config.inc.php as it shows here. I'll make sure to fix that. Let me just make a note. All right, so let's keep going. I know it sounded like a lot of typing for such a little thing. All right, so let's go and do this. Let's go along the steps here. So it says, let's rename this thing. All right. So config.inc.php. All right. Now let's open this. Let's go to the next step. All right, open the file and go down the list of settings. All right, so for this example, I'm not going to go into the database parts, but let's go into the actual module part. So, all right, the name you could put in, that's not even being used yet, but it's planning ahead. And then let's do me. All right, so the next part, here's where you would define the databases. So if you're going to use MySQL, here's where you could put in the default user, password, DB name, and of course, if you're going to have multiple ones, then you're just going to want to create your own plugin to handle the multiple logins and the multiple parts of it. I can help you out with that if you just go write me on Bitbucket or send me an email, whatever. All right, then MongoDB settings. Again, self-explanatory. All right, so here's the important part, the core directory configurations. Now, here's it wants to know where the private folder is. So here's where you set what the private folder is. If you have it like it originally comes, then you won't have to really change this. If you want to have your private folder in a different place or in another directory or whatever, this is where you would change it. Next, the stores the core files used by ArcPHP. This is this folder right here. This folder stores everything that is required and that you really never need to touch unless you just want to go see what it's all doing, or you want to actually help and upgrade it or document it, whatever you want. All right, the next part is stores the core files needed to run Arc. You open this folder. This is where I have it separated. Here's everything that's definitely being loaded right off the bat. And here's the optional plugins that you see in the list. All of this is explained in the first how it works video. So let's keep moving on. Next is your directory configurations. This is where you would set where you have your MVC controllers. You got to make sure that if you do move this, that you take this boot file. This is basically, you could call it whatever you want, but this is where when the URL comes in, this is where Apache is going to send the request to have it parsed and figure out what to do with it. It's almost a bootstrap type file, so you would create your bootstrap within here. It doesn't actually come with the bootstrap style MVC. All right. Then where you have your models, your views, and so on. All right. Here's where the core CSS files and JS files, these are going to be what's included when you go to the /media/CSS. It's going to automatically combine them and spit them out to the browser in a nice, clean SEO way. Right now it doesn't do any compressions. I'm not sure I'm going to have that added in, or you're just going to have to use your own plugin because of all the different things that could go wrong. So let's see. So that is actually, this is right where you're going to add, you're just going to drop them in this folder here. So in the views folder, which holds all your CSS, there's the core folder, and this is where The core is stored, which is your body, your header, footer, whatever way you like to do it. And here's the CSS. You just copy and paste all the multiple files in there, throw all the multiple JS files in there, and this file, the template.php, this is where it stores the body, the whole structure of the HTML page, the HTML head, the body. And here you'll see where these are included with ArcPHP, which it will automatically go parse it and combine the files that are in these folders on the call of this. You would have to supply your own header, since everybody has different header times or the way that they do it. I decided not to have that as a standard. And then you have your include down here. This is if you do a special, like for instance, if you went into this example folder and you loaded this file, it's going to look in here to see if there's any special CSS or JS that's needed for these files that are in here. So if there is, then it'll just embed it at the bottom of the page. The reason why it doesn't do its own include is that for the most part, those style type includes are actually just meant if it's for the whole site. You don't want to keep having users load stuff that they're not using on multiple pages, or even have another page that they download for this page, because then that's an extra request. Yeah, page over page. All right. So that's that part. All right, and so let's keep going down here. All right, you got your plugins folder. This is the plugins folder, which you will dump all your add-ons and everything in there. If you get a great one that you want to share, send it to me. I can put it up on the website. Eventually, I'll have a plugins section if people feel like sharing. If they don't, then you can just keep it for yourself, and maybe just let me know what kind of cool stuff you're doing with it. All right, so next is the media images. So this is actually just the public folder here. It just wants to know in case you rename it or you have your own structure. Some people have where they put it all in includes and then the media style. That's all up to you. I left it open for that reason particular. And then of course the fonts folder, if you feel like you want to get it out of this part of it, or this is where you would do it. And then the vault. This is actually just used if you're going to start doing like cron jobs to process images and stuff like that. There's no reason why those core original images need to be stored in a public manner. They should just be put away somewhere, and you process it, and then put the final product out for the public. You always know that what's in that public folder is open to the world, and anything that's not supposed to be open to the world shouldn't be in that folder. All right. Next is the error pages. This will let you define, these are just here, they're not actually being used. They will let you define where to send people in your own scripts. These constants are just here so that way you have a clean way to put them. You could actually just remove them, use them, whatever you want. All right, so the next is the optional modules. This is what like the MongoDB and the MySQL and the file plugin and the image, soon to be the image handler. I just got a production style test it, and then you just would go in here and you would add a 1 if you wanted to use MySQL, or 1 if you wanted to use MongoDB. You could use them all. That's up to you. For this demo, we're not going to use any of that. All right, next is where you would say what files to load for the core, for the body of your site. At first I had it where it scanned the folder, but then when you're merging a lot of JS files and CSS too, sometimes you need them in specific order. So this way I just created where it's you just supply a CSV format of what is in that folder in the views core folder here, and it will load it in that order. So if you did this, it would first look for the reset.css, add that, and then the style.css would come right after. For this example, there's not going to be any of that. All right, so the next is this down here. You can just ignore. This is just to make sure that the directories are all correct before moving on, and then that way you find out later that there was just one little thing while you just spent a whole bunch of time trying to debug some other person's architecture here. So, all right. So let's that's pretty much with the config. Let's save this. All right. And let's see what else it has here for us. Now check that the settings are configured correctly. So now let's go back. All right, so if we did it all correctly, you're gonna get an all is running sign. If you didn't do it correctly, let's go mess something up. Let's make this wrong folder here, and let's go back. And since I have everything turned off, you're not even seeing anything, but that's where it would actually load. All right. So all are running, that means move on, you're good to go, and let's go forward here. So the next, let's see, all right, so the next thing is I'll go through actually using the functions and stuff like that. Thanks.